Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Night Parade of 100 Yokai from designer Luis Brueh and his own Brueh games. This is a sort of card drafting, tableau building, area control game in which you find yourself as a band of yokai spirits, building a night parade, recruiting new spirits into your parade, ultimately working to build Tori on the different islands in this world in the hopes of claiming the fire throne of the Yokai King. I've been interested in trying out Brueh games for a while now because I've been really attracted to their artwork first and foremost. And I was very lucky to win this game in a giveaway on the Brueh Games Instagram page. So that was a lot of fun. And this is going to be a completely unplanned video. I had no plans to review this game, but because I got it and I've been playing it so much, I thought I'd share my experiences with you. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how it plays in solo mode, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. Before I get into setup for the game, I just want to apologize in advance for the sort of very wide, zoomed out nature. This game does take up a whole lot of space on the table, but I'll do my best to fit everything in and make sure that you can follow along. I'll bring things closer to the camera whenever needed. With that said, let's go ahead and get into setup. To set up a solo game of Night Parade of 100 Yokai, begin first by placing out the sort of center tile of the map board. And then you're going to shuffle and place out the remaining tiles around that center tile. I just want to show you these are double-sided. For the solo game or low player count games, we will be using the night side of these tiles, including the one that's already out there. So I'm going to go ahead and give these a shuffle, and I'll set them up, and we'll come back and continue setup. To continue setup, you're then going to take the 3 different levels of yokai card. Level 1 here with the 2 spirit symbol. Level 2 here with the 4 spirit symbol, and level 3 here with the 6 spirit symbol. We're going to make 3 columns here under the board, 2, 4, and 6 with the deck, and then 2 face-up cards from each of those. And then finally, to complete the setup of the sort of main play area, we're going to take these hidden plot cards, give them a shuffle, and we will be only choosing one of these for the solo mode. Both us and the AI player will be scoring off the same hidden plot. So I'm going to show you this right now, and I'll explain what it means roughly, and it'll make a little bit more sense later when we get into the gameplay. But this means that for every temple we place out on the map, we're going to be scoring 1 point. This one says for every temple we play out that's not on an island that contains somebody else's temple, it means a temple that's on an island by itself, we will score an additional 1 point. And then finally, in our tableau of cards, for every 3 of the fighting or fist icons we see, we'll score an additional 1 point. So that'll get placed. I'll just stick that right here for easy reference. And then finally, we need to place out all of the tokens for the game, which we've got these talisman tokens down here, spirit tokens that you can see are in values of 3, 2, and 1. And then these sort of bonus scoring tokens that we will use when we score some of the islands, or when we place out temples on some of the islands. But you'll see how that works again as we get into gameplay. Now finally, to finish setup for the game, we do need to set up the 2-player areas, means myself and the AI. The AI has 3 different difficulty levels in the box. We are going to be playing with the medium difficulty, which means the AI will be taking the Nekomata character, which are these little black cats like this. So we'll place all of their pieces out in just a minute. And I have decided this time to play using the Nogitsune, which are these orange fox characters. I did play the same matchup not too long ago, and I lost just barely. So this is going to be sort of a revenge on the AI. To set up each of our player areas, we are going to be placing out these 3 scrolls vertically, green, blue, and brown, and then we will do the same for the AI. Each of these scrolls is going to sort of represent the start of a horizontal tableau of cards, and at the start of the game, we will each start with our starting deck, which gives us 1 card in each of these 3 rows. So again, the AI is playing Nekomata, or the cats. So we're going to take these 3 starting cards for the cats in brown, blue, and green, and we'll place those out in front of each of the 3 scrolls. And then we'll do the same thing for my fox character using the fox cards. Again, brown, blue, and green, placing them out in front of the scrolls. And then off to the side, over here somewhere. We are going to be moving things around because these card rows are going to be growing, but over here off to the side, I will be placing 8 of those animal tokens for each of us, and then 5 temples as well. And you'll see now as the pieces come out that I did make a mistake, and there are actually 10 of the animals rather than what I had said previously as 8. So Night Parade of 100 Yokai will play out over a series of rounds until one player has placed all 5 of their temples or tori out onto the islands, at which point that round will be completed and the game will end immediately. For the solo game, the player will always go first, followed by the AI. On your turn, each turn is going to play out in sort of the same way. And what you're going to do first is you're going to choose one of the 3 available scrolls to activate for that round. And you'll see what I mean by available versus unavailable in just a minute. But when you take a scroll, you're going to flip over that scroll, and you're going to follow what it shows on the scroll, and they're all going to show the same thing. This means that you're going to activate your cards from left to right across that color row. And then you're going to spend these talismans and spirits to potentially add new cards to your rows. And then finally, at the end of a round, for every 2 talisman that you have remaining, round it up. So if you had 3, that would count as 2. For every 2 talisman you have rounded up again, you will exchange them for 1 spirit, which means you will never be able to carry talisman tokens from turn to turn, but you will be able to continue holding on to spirits if you'd like to carry them over continuously. Then, that will be the end of your turn, but any scrolls that you did not activate that turn will be flipped back face down, which means on my next turn, were I to activate the green scroll, I would finish by turning the brown scroll down at the end of my turn, which means that in 2 consecutive turns, we will never be able to activate the same colored row. So we will have to at least be moving back and forth between 2 colors, or potentially alternating between all 3 colors as we move forward. Now, why are we trying to do that? When we activate a row, for every card in that row, we will be placing out one of our animals onto an island on the board. And we need to place onto an island that matches the same color or symbol or type of our card. So if I activated the brown row in this case, I would be placing one of my animals onto a brown island. And there are 4 of each color, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. And that number in the top left corner is going to indicate how many animals of one type or one player need to be on that island before a tori or temple will be placed onto that island. When placing out animals, if you do have multiple cards of the same color, you can never place more than 1 token on a single island in a single turn. So if I had 4 cards, I would have to place 1 on the 3, 1 on the 4, 1 on the 5, and 1 on the 6, in any order I choose. But if I had more than 4 cards in a row, say I had 5 cards, I couldn't place out a 5th animal because there is no 5th island, and I can never duplicate an island on the same turn. You'll also notice that the center island is fire or red. There are no fire cards, so there is no way for me to place directly onto that island. In addition to placing out an animal for each card in our row, we are then going to also activate the symbols on the cards. And I'm going to use these 2 cards here to explain because they show all of the symbols on them. So in this card, you will see this is a talisman, which means I would simply take 1 talisman token. And here are spirits, which in this case we would be taking 2 spirit tokens. And the reason we're going to be taking talismans and spirits, and I just realized I should have started personally with 3 spirits at the beginning of the game. The reason we're going to be taking those is for 1 talisman and a number of spirits, we can purchase new cards to add into our rows. And again, each card is going to cost 1 talisman plus a number of spirits equal to whichever level we are taking from. So here I would need a talisman and 2 spirits, here a talisman and 4 spirits, and here a talisman and 6 spirits to take that card. And we are allowed to purchase multiple cards on the same turn. So if I had 6 of these spirits and 3 talismans, I could buy 3 cards from the first level card draw. It's also worth mentioning that every time I buy a card and add it to my tableau, I immediately replace it with a card from the deck, so I can sort of get to see what the next card is before I choose which card to purchase. In addition, once per turn, I can choose any of these 3 rows, meaning one row of these 3, to completely refresh, shuffle those cards back into the deck, and deal out 2 new. So we can always refresh one of these 3 columns per turn. The other 2 symbols that we're going to see on these cards are these wings and these fists. The wings represent a move action, and a move action means that I can move one character from one island to another island, moving one space, or say again, one character, one space, for each wing that I have in that activation, basically. And then the fists are going to allow me to fight. And what that means is I can remove one of my opponent's characters from an island containing my own character as well for each fist that I'm activating. So if I had 2 opponents on an island that I only had one character on, but I had 2 fists, I could remove both of those 2 opponent pieces. And why are we doing this? We're doing this ultimately to place our Tori out on the islands. Every time we have a number of characters on an island equal to the number that's printed in the top left corner of that island, we will place out one of our Tori, removing all of our characters back to our supply, and then triggering whatever it shows underneath that number on the card. So most of them will be giving me spirits. In fact, all of them will be giving me spirits, either 1, 2, or 3, or in the case of the center island, 1 spirit per lantern on islands that contain our Tori already. And then some of them, in addition, will be giving me these bonus tokens. So if there's a question mark star on the island tile, when I place my Tori there, I will take one of those random bonus point tiles. Some of them give me points, some of them give me extra spirit tokens, and that will give me an extra sort of boost for that island. You'll see the center island here automatically scores me an additional 2 points. It's not random, I just get 2 points in addition for that island. You'll also see here in the bottom right corner of each island a number, either a 1 in this case or a 2 in this case. And that's the number of Tori that can actually be built on that island. So if there is only a 1 in that corner, if either myself or my opponent places a Tori there, then the other person will never be able to do so. And again, we are playing out like this until one of us places all 5 of our Tori out on the board. We will finish the round, meaning the AI will be the last player to take their turn, and that will be the end of the game. At the end of the game, we will score points again based on this card, meaning 1 point per Tori on an island, 1 point additionally for every Tori that's on an island by itself, and then 1 point for every 3 fists that we have in our tableau. In addition, we will also score points for any of the bonus tokens that we received. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Now the way that the AI is going to take their turn, you'll see how this plays out when they do so in just a minute, but the AI is going to only be using this level 1 deck. And according to the rules, we're meant to shuffle this deck every turn and draw out a random card for the AI. But since this deck has already been shuffled and has already been randomized, I'm not going to shuffle every time because that just adds a little bit more fiddliness. I'll simply draw the top card from that deck and play it into the AI's tableau. And then the AI is going to activate the longest card row that is available to activate that round, prioritizing card rows with wings, and then top card rows if there's ever a tie for length. And they're going to go straight through and activate their cards. And I'm going to wait to explain exactly how they activate as we play through, because it's basically the same way that I do, but they're going to have certain priorities, and I'll explain those priorities as we play rather than trying to teach them all to you now before we get into gameplay. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the first turn. And as I said, I will be going first. So let's reset that. I don't think I'm going to start there because I start with 3 spirits, but I don't have any talisman. So if I want to add anything to my tableau, it's not going to happen unless I get talisman. And this blue water row is the only one that does that for me. So I'm going to start by activating blue, which means I place 1 out on a blue island. And I'm going to start on small islands first to hopefully get some of my Tori out early. So I'll start there on the 3 water. And then I take 2 talisman and 1 spirit, which means I have 4 spirit and 2 talisman, which means I could buy 1 level 2 for 4 and then have an extra talisman that would turn into a spirit at the end of the turn. Or, because I have 2 talisman, I could buy 2 level 2s. And it's early game yet. It might be worth picking up some extra, because remember, the more that I have now, the more cards I have, the more pieces I'm placing out on the board. The more abilities I have means the more I can manipulate those things once they're out. Yes, and I know that I'm not going to be able to buy anything next round unless I put out a talisman somewhere else. Placing out a movement right now, ooh, you know what? Actually, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll show you why on my next turn. I'm going to spend all 4 spirits and 1 talisman to take this green weasel-looking character, placing that there, which means the end of my turn, I have 1 talisman left, which I will trade in for 1 spirit because I can't hold on to it. And we draw 1 more of these out like that. Now the AI's turn. We're going to take the top card of the 2 deck, which is blue, which means now blue is their longest row. They will activate blue. And they're going to be ending up placing out 2 of their figures. Now, the AI always does this. They're going to prioritize the islands that have the sort of smallest gap to being able to place a Tori out. So they're going to look for low numbers first. But before they do that, they're always going to prioritize first an island that has my character on it, and then on top of that, an island that has their character. So the first priority is my character's on the island. The second priority is one of their pieces is already on the island. And the third priority is the quickest possible Tori being placed out. Remembering they still follow the rules that we do, that only 1 piece can be placed per island on a single turn. So they are doing water. They are going to place here on the 3 because I'm already there. And now they get to move. And the way that the AI movement works is they will always move a piece if moving that piece places them on an island that requires less pieces to be able to place a Tori. And if there's a tie there, they're going to look for places where I am so they can sort of compete with me faster. In this case, because that's the sort of best place for them to be, they're not going to move, they're not going to change, they're not going to do anything differently, so that stays there. Next, the AI places 1 more. In this case, prioritizing this 4, because that is, again, the next lowest number water space. And this card has a talisman. The AI does not use talisman or spirits because they're just going to add cards 1 per round, so that doesn't mean anything to them. So that is the end of their turn. So we move next back to my turn. And I did just beef up this green, so I am going to activate green, which means we are going to get to place 2 of our pieces out this time. And normally I would prioritize low numbers in green so that I could get more green placed out. But instead, what I'm going to do this turn is, because I see on this card I've got 2 movement like this, I'm going to place 1 on this 5, and I get the spirit from that card. And then I'm going to place 1 out on this 6 up here. And now I see that I have 2 movement, which means I'm going to move 1 there and 1 there. We now have 3 of our pieces on this island at a level 3. Those immediately come off the board, and we're going to place out our first Tori. Doing so, this is a simple level 3 tile, so we only get 1 spirit token for that. But it does mean that we're 1 step closer to triggering endgame, and we are scoring on that twice because it is placed on the board, and it is on an island that only holds 1, so I'm definitely getting that second point for it. Now I can't buy anything because I don't have any talisman, even though I have 3 spirits, so that is the end of my turn. And we're going to flip this blue one face down because that is the one we did not activate this turn, which means it is available again for the next turn. AI draws their next card, which is green, which means green is the longest unactivated row this turn, so they will do that. Again, placing 2 of their own pieces out. I don't have anything on green, and they don't have anything on green. So they're again going to prioritize low numbers. So they're going to start out here on the green 3. Now, their first green card says Talisman, which we don't care about, but then says 2 movement. And we will see that moving this one here is going to put them closer to building a Torii and also be on a place that will allow them to build a Torii. So they are going to move to this one here in order to sort of get that one closer to be building a Torii. Now, they've got one more out that could be moved. Moving this one here, because there can't be any more Torii built here because that's done. That's a level 3, which gets them closest to building a new Torii, so that is the end of that. And then they're going to place out their second one, prioritizing again low numbers or ones that have their own piece on it. There aren't any of those pieces out, so they will just place here in 4. And they didn't activate blue this turn, so that flips back over like that. All right, my turn. I could do brown or blue. But if I want to expand my tableau, I'm going to need Talisman, so I am going to activate blue again. Which means I'm only placing 1 out. And I want to sort of pay attention to where they are. And also knowing that probably next turn I'm going to activate green again unless I get some brown stuff going up here. Let's see. Are there blue spots near green spots that are nice for me to have? Yes. So I'm going to play on that 4. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to do that. Gets me 2 Talisman and 1 Spirit. Now I'd love to find a single green move card if I can, so I'm going to shuffle those back in, because remember, once per round we're allowed to reshuffle the cards. And then having done that, we're going to deal 2 back up. All right, well that's not what I wanted, but it's also not horrible, because I see a Talisman coming for green. So what I think I'm going to do, and I need to start prioritizing fists soon because fists are going to score points. But I'm not too worried about that yet because they don't have any fists either. I'm going to spend 1 Talisman and 2 Spirit only, and you'll see why in just a second, to take this green card like that. This is done. It gets flipped back over. This Talisman can't stay, so now I do have 3 Spirit. And if I activate green in the next turn, I'll get another Spirit and a Talisman, which gets me 4. And then I might prioritize this blue movement. But we'll see what happens in the next turn. But first, AI goes. They've got brown. So everything's the same length. Green has already been activated. They are prioritizing the number of wings. So in this case, they're going to activate the brown row because there are 2 wings. They will be placing 2 pieces out. Prioritizing low numbers, places with my people and places with theirs. So they're going to start at this 3 right here. And now we get to move 1. Well, moving from here to here is going to trigger that island. So they will end up placing their first Torii right there. Nope, sorry, right there. Again, they don't care about Spirit, so they don't take that Spirit. Their second placement then will be on this 4. And now they're looking for movement again that will either get them closer to being able to place another Torii, or if there's a tie, to a place that has one of mine. So they're going to be, this is a 4, this is a 4. They're going to move there just so that they are tied with me, or not tied with me, but so that they're on an island with me, and potentially later, if they got a fight icon, they could knock me off that island. And finishing that turn, they will flip this green one back over, and it is my turn again. I will be activating green. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do yet what I really want to do, but we are placing 3 pieces out. And yeah, there's no way for me to score lots of points on green very easily. Ah, wait a minute. No, I only have 2 movement. That's okay. All right, so we're going to place first on this 4, taking 1 spirit. And then we're going to place up here on this 6 with 2 movement triggered. So we're going to do 1, 2, moving them to that island right there. And then finally for my 3rd placement, I will place up here on that island like that, getting 1 talisman from that card. So now I have a talisman and 4 spirits. Movement would be nice, but right now I'd prefer if I could get fighting, I think. But I don't want to shuffle that because I really do like that card. All right, so I am going to spend those 4 spirits. And 1 talisman to add this blue card to my tableau. Revealing the next one. Blue flips back over because we didn't activate it this turn. I don't have any talisman to trade in. That's the end of my turn. AI takes their next turn with a green. Now green is longest, so that will easily be activated. Oops, that's upside down. They will be placing 3 this turn, prioritizing me, then them, then anybody. All right, so their first placement is going to be there, which is a shame because now they get to move twice. They're going to move once there, triggering that one. Which means they place out their 2nd Tori there. They get a 2nd movement, but there's nothing left. Ah, there is 1 here left to move. But moving there and moving there is worse, not better, so it will stay. Then next, it placed out on a 3 already, so the next priority is going to be the 4. And then the 5. And it flips the brown back down again. My turn. Yeah, I need to activate blue because, well, it's got more good stuff in it. But also I want to win that island. So I am going to place first in this spot right there, taking all of those back, placing out another Tori there and getting 2 for that. Also for placing here, I get 2 talisman and 1 more of those. Then I get to place 1 more somewhere in a water. Got a lot of movement happening. I might start looking at that center island because this has 2 lanterns, this has 2 lanterns. Already that's 4 spirits. If I get that center island, it's going to get me 1, 2 points for being alone, plus 2 more is 4 points. That's pretty big. Well, it takes a lot of people on there to get it. Well, let's see what happens because I might actually fight for this down here. Yeah, I'm going to place there anyway. Now the question is, do I move to this bottom corner or do I move to the center? I don't see any fighting happening soon. I only have 3 spirits. So I could end up buying one of these or shuffling and seeing what happens. Well, we will shuffle and see what happens, but whether we buy or not is going to depend on what comes out, I guess. But I get to move twice. I'm definitely going to move this one down here, because I don't know that I'm going to get that 6 anytime soon. And even if I am, I'm fighting for it. But this is a single island Tori, so I am going to come down here and hopefully fight for that. I do want to prioritize fighting. So we are going to shuffle these back in. And then as we draw, we're going to hope for, perfect, a green fist, which is exactly what we got. So I'm going to spend 2 of those and 1 talisman to take that green fist, adding it here. That gets replaced. We trade in our last talisman for 1 more spirit. And green flips back down. AI's turn, flipping over the card, we've got a green, which makes the green longer, but that doesn't matter because it's already been activated. So brown or blue, remembering brown has more wings, they're going to do that. And they will place 2 out on brown spots, prioritizing this one for sure. And then moving 1, yeah, we're in trouble because they're going to move that one there. And then they're going to place, hold on. Actually, in this case, it's unfortunate for the AI, but following the rules of the AI, if they place there and move there, that would be great for them. But remember, priority of placement is on lowest number. No, that's not true. The island tile that requires the least meeples to be considered sacred and can still earn Tori, and that one can't. So it is going to place there. And that means the second movement is going to move it right there. Unfortunately, which means they do claim that island, which was annoying because I could have put that in the middle instead. And now my fighting also doesn't mean anything. But that's okay. They'll place that right there. And then that's the end of their turn. The green flips back down. They are going to have a huge turn next turn. But before that, I'm going to have a huge green turn, placing out 4 of my own on greens. And I do know that I get to move twice. So I'm going to place there. No, I'm going to start by placing there and taking 1 spirit. And then we're going to place out there, moving twice. So I'm going to move this one here. Now the question is, do I move that other one into the center or try and get over to that island? I'm not liking my sort of chances with time, but they don't have anything out on the board yet, so I'm not really worried. That's going there. Then I get to place out on 4 and 5. 4 getting me a talisman, and 5 allowing me to attack, which means I'm going to punch that cat right off the island. And then I reset my blue. I have 3 and a talisman to add. Adding another blue's not a bad idea. Yeah. But let me see what we can do. I'm going to shuffle these and hope for a blue with a move instead of a talisman. And then we will place these. Come on, blue with a wing. Ha, no blue at all. That's sad. Well, that hurts me. I should have taken that blue from before, but I'm going to not take anything right now. Yeah, I'm not taking anything. Means I'm trading in this for 1 of these guys, and that's the end of my turn. AI takes a card, which is brown. All right, so blue is out for a little while. Green gets activated again. They're placing out all 4 of their pieces. Prioritizing places with me closest to building means they're going to put on 4 first, and then they'll place on 5. And then, hold on, before I do any of that. That's probably going to happen anyway, but 4, after placing on 4, they get to move twice. Never mind, there is nothing to move, so that's great. So they place on 5. Then the 3 already has a thing, so they're not prioritizing that. They'll place on 6. They get to move twice. So they will definitely move that one there. The other one doesn't move because no Tori can get placed here. They already have one there, and moving from a 5 to a 6 makes things worse for them, not better. So that's that. And then finally for the last card, they will place on 3. And now from there, they get to move 1 more. Now, this they can't place on because it only holds 1. So they could move to the top corner or the middle, and the top corner, even though it doesn't have my pieces, is closer for them to place a Tori, so they will prioritize that. And they reflip the brown back down. My turn is not great, but I'm going blue. Placing out 2 pieces, which hurts a little bit. Because if I had set myself up better with the green, I would have been in a much better shape. Yeah. But that's okay. I think I still have one more turn before I'm in trouble. So we're going to place out on this 4. Taking 2 talisman and 1 spirit. And then we're going to place out on this 3. And we get to move twice. So I'm going to move 1 here and move 1 from there to there. Yeah, I like it. Now, I've got 5 spirits and a talisman. I really do want to focus on more movement, even though I know fists will get me good stuff later. I don't care about that so much at the moment. Yeah, all right, I'm going to spend 4 of these. And a talisman to take this flying weasel guy. Traded my other talisman for a spirit token. Refreshing that and flipping over the green. Now, I think we're safe because green's already been activated and blue and brown don't have enough things close enough to there to move enough things there for them to win. So let's see what happens. They got a green, but they are going to activate brown. So they're placing 3. They're going to start where I have things out. And now this is where priority is important because they're going to place where I have things out regardless of the closest thing to get to a Tori. Unless there are multiple places that have things of mine. The only brown that has me is here. Even though it can't build a Tori there, that is the priority. It will go there because it could remove my character in a fight. Then, 3 is blocked, so it's going 5 and then 6. But after I place here, we can move. And it wants to move here because it's closer to being able to beat a Tori, and there is one of my guys there, so that's great. That's not true. We are in trouble. It's going to move here. Yes. And then it's going to place brown again. Aha! This is where priority is great because it's going to place on 5, not on 6. And in this case, it is going to move again. It can either move this one here or up there. That one has my piece, so it will move there. And we got lucky because of priority, it places on 6 there. Now, if it had been smarter, it would have been smarter, but it's not going to be smart. It's going to play based on the rules of the AI, and I'm sure they were built that way for a reason. If not, also just to make it a little bit easier to run, but that's that. Now, in the last placement, they did get a fight icon. And they're going to fight where we both have meeples, obviously. And they're going to prioritize tiles that require the fewest meeples to be considered sacred. So here I only need 1, so they are going to kick me off of that one. But that's okay, because we're still in luck. We're activating green this turn, which means I get to place out 4. But right now I only have 3, but that's going to be fine, because step 1 is I'm placing there. Step 2 is I'm placing, hold on. From placing there, I get 1 spirit. Then I'm placing up here at 6. And now I get to move twice. So the first move is there. I take that island, which is great because it can only hold 1 Tori, which means they can't take it again. So I get that and 2 more spirits for doing that. So I placed that on the 4 and the 6. The 5 and the 3 are fine to place. I'll place out here on the 5. Getting 1 more talisman. And then I will place out on the 3, which is up here. And 1 fight, so I will fight one of these cats off the island right there. Getting rid of them. Now I can purchase 2s or 4s. Now it's not worth having any more greens. I wouldn't mind 1 more blue to start moving more stuff around since we've got so much movement happening here. Yeah, let me see what happens if I shuffle this. If I can get a blue with some fists on it, that helps with scoring. But also adds in another blue. All right, let's see how we did. Well, there's a blue with spirits. That's not bad. All right, yeah, I'll take that. So we want 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 talisman to add another blue there. And blue flips down because we just activated green. We refill that. The AI goes next. adding to blue. I just realized they were doing brown last turn, so we should have flipped the green. We're going to flip it now. They are placing all 4. They've got 5 cards, but again, there are only 4 of any color island, so they can't place any more than 4. Prioritizing places with me that are close to things. So they're going to start here like that, and now they can move twice, which means they're going to move 1 here and again 1 there, I think. Hold on. That's 5 away. No, because that's only 3 away. So they're actually going to move this one twice to get there. Now they're going to place on 3, 4, or 6. 3 and 4 both can't be built, so they're going to prioritize 6. Prioritize their own meeples first, and then that one. And after placing that one, they get to move 1 more. Just 1 space, which means they're going to do that. And the last one they will place out on 3, getting 1 more movement, which again should do that. They're done with green. Brown flips back over, and it's my turn to activate blue. We will be placing out 4 if we can. I only have 3 right now, which means if I don't get them back from building a Torii right now, I will have to move 1 from somewhere that's already on the board and replace them as if they had been in my hand. So we're in good shape. Not really. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to place there, taking 2 talisman, 1, 2, and a spirit. Then I'm going to place up there at 6. And now we move twice. So 1, 2 into there. Now I place my 3rd meeple. I've already placed on the 3 and the 6, so the 5 and the 4 are the only places left. I'll place on the 5. And we move twice again. So we're going to move this one into the center and this one here. That's 5. Which means I trigger that, gets me 2 more spirit. And one of these randoms, let's see what we got. We end up with 1 extra point. And then we're going to place our final piece, which is having to go on this 4 because we already played on the 3, 6, and 5. That was kind of a mistake. Yeah, it's not going to change anything. Let's say we put on the 4 and moved in there, and then I put on the 5. That way, that makes sense. The 4 is meaningless to me. That's fine. And now I get to activate 2 more spirits. All right. Now, we're getting close to the end. I didn't put out that Torii. I will. I need to focus now on scoring. So I am going to spend 4 of these and 1 of those. Adding to blue doesn't really help me place any more things, but that gets me 2 fists plus the 1 fist I already have is 3, which means I'm going to score 1 point for that. All right, then green gets flipped back down. They're going to draw, they draw brown. That means brown is getting activated this turn. And the AI doesn't have any more pieces to place. So they have to pull things off the island in order to place them. They're going to pull off of things that don't mean anything to them. And then if there is more than 1 of those kinds of places, they're going to take from the bottommost place and then from the rightmost place. So this is meaningful. That one's not and that one's not. So this is bottom rightmost. And they're going to place out on a brown spot that has my pieces, there aren't any, has their pieces, means here. And now they get 1 movement, so they will clearly be doing that. Then, same thing, they're taking again from here because they don't have any pieces. Placing out on brown with my piece, no, with their piece, no. Closest to a thing is there. And then they will move 1 more, which means they trigger that. Placing out their Torii. Now, they won't get the spirit, but they do get a chance at a blind draw because they might get points out of it. And they got, lucky for me, spirits, because they don't collect any spirits. So that doesn't mean anything to me. And now they're going to place 2 more. They've already placed on the 6 and the 5, which means the next one they'll place is that 3. They're fighting, which means that guy's gone. And then down here on the 4 is the end of their turn. Green flips back over. And me. We're not doing too horribly. All right. Problem is, oh wait, hold on. I shouldn't have this talisman. That should have become a spirit the last turn. We're clearly activating green to get more stuff out there. I'm prioritizing that center island as much as possible. So, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to place there on 3 green. Ah, the other ones are far away, aren't they? That's okay. I'm going to place up here on the 6 so that we're near, no, because I'm not moving that one. Place on the 4, because now I move twice. Once here, once here. Nope. Once here. Then we place on the 6, taking a talisman. I don't remember if I got that spirit, but we'll say that I did just because. And then we place 1 more. We already placed on 3, 4, 6, so it has to be on 5. And now I get to fight once, which means absolutely I'm taking that one out. I've got 3 spirits and a talisman. If I wait, I'll get a lot more stuff. Yeah, I'm waiting. So this becomes a single piece. They draw, oh, hold on. I flipped the blue back because I just used green. They take their card, which is brown. But that doesn't matter because it's active, so they're going to use green. Means they should be placing out 4. Prioritizing green with me that's closest to a thing. No. Green with me and then green with them. So they're going to place here first. And then green with me, green with them, and closest to a Tori means there. But before they do that, they're moving twice. Which means in the current situation, this one first. And then this one there. Next, green with me, green with them, green with closest to a thing is there. Next, they've got 3 and 4. 3 has their piece, 4 has mine, so it's going there first and moving once. Which means that's got 5 left, that's got 5 left, but that one has my piece, so they're going there. And then lastly, yeah, they place right there. Moving 1 again, which means that. And the final one they don't place because they can't place a 5th, and that doesn't mean anything for them. Brown is done. Now my turn. I'm going to activate blue. I place out, yeah, it doesn't matter, 1. I take 2 talisman and 1 spirit. Then I place out 1 more, but I get to pull it from wherever I want to. That one, placing here and moving twice. Well, moving here, there gives me, hold on. Moving here gives me that 7. So I am placing out my Tori. That means this is the last round of the game. I'm counting lanterns on islands that have my Tori. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, let me count that again, because there's some hiding ones in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Means I get 11 spirit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that does give me 2 points at the end of the game as well. I get to place out 2 more times. Place out on water. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'll place out there and there. Meaning I have to move twice again. I think that one didn't move last time, so it should be there, but moving 2 more is not going to matter to me. So whether I made the mistake or not doesn't matter. I get the 2 from that, and I get to fight twice, so I will do that. So they can't have a super winning end game round. Now I get to purchase. I've got 2 abilities to purchase. And I've got 3, 6, 9. Yeah, I can buy 2 of anything. So I'm going to buy this one first. Spending 1 and 6. Because I want those fists. And right now, it doesn't matter because I can only buy 1 more. And 2 fists or 1 fist doesn't get me any more than 3. And the spirits don't really count for anything at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that 3, 6, to take that one right there. Placing out a new one. Flipping green because we didn't do it, but it doesn't matter because that's my last turn. AI takes a card, which is blue. Doesn't matter because they're going to activate brown, which means they should place out 4. They only have 3, so we may have to move one, but we'll see. Placing in brown, prioritizing me. There aren't any prioritizing them. That makes sense, which is here. Moving 1 space, which means this one goes there because my guy is there. Well, yeah, that's fine. Then they're going to place out again, prioritizing them or me, which is here. And moving 1 again, which in this case is going to go there. Then the 4 and the 6 don't really matter, so they'll go lowest first. And then they're actually going to pick that one up because it's bottom rightmost to place there instead. But that doesn't mean anything. That's the end of their turn, and that then is the end of the game. So we're going to head and add up points. For me, I've got orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Tori. Again, they're all individual, so another 5 and 5 is 10. Plus 2 for the center island is 12. Plus my star over here is 13. And then a point for every 3 fists. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fists, so that's an additional 2. So 5 and 5 is 10 and 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15 points for me. For the cats, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Tori. They've also got 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals, so that's 8. And unfortunate for them, they only have 2 fists. So they finish with a score of 8 to my 15, and I have had my revenge. Yay. All right, so while we're down here, let's take a look at the components. First things first, the artwork shines. I really, really, really love this sort of pop art, cartoonish look. The characters on these cards are wonderful. I do really love the interpretation of these yokai that they've drawn here in the game. All of the iconography is very, very clear, very easy to understand. The tiles, again, really nice artwork. I noticed that there are some other icons on there. I did take a look online and there are some expansions for this game, and some of those expansions do take advantage of some of the other icons on these tokens or on these tiles, and that makes me really, really excited that there was some planning ahead that perhaps maybe those things would be important. Double-sided, again, just the difference is night and day, but they are really, really, really nice art. Very heavy-duty tiles, very nice, easy to see, to interact with, and so on. The scoring conditions, for the most part, are pretty easy to understand from the iconography. Some of them are a little bit confusing, but the rulebook does have a very nice description of all of the different scoring conditions, so that's not a huge problem for me. While we're talking about the characters and the art, I should also point out that on the back of the rulebook is a description of all of the different yokai and what they are. So it's really clear to me, and I'll talk more about this in my final thoughts, but it's really clear to me that the designer of this game really cared about the theme that they were putting in here, and I'm very happy to have seen that. As far as other components, I am a huge fan of wooden bits, and these have them in droves. These Torii gates are really cool. I'll show you all of the different characters. I showed you the fox and the cat already, but here they are again. The other two are a bear and a frog. I love the look of these pieces. I would buy the game, honestly, just for these pieces. That's kind of silly. We'll talk more about how I feel about the game itself, but I really love these wooden bits a lot. Now, my only complaint here with the components, and you may kind of see it here on the table already, is that these cards are really, really, really flimsy cards, and they are curving or curling quite a bit as I play. Now, it is a pretty hot, dry, heated room that I'm playing this in, so that does explain some of that, but still, I don't like to see that these cards are curling so much. Every time I play, I straighten them out, and they do straighten out fine, but then as I'm playing, they're curling again, and they're all curling in different directions based on if they're face up or face down. So it would have been nice to see a little bit better card quality in the game, but otherwise everything else in this is really, really nice. The artwork is really, really nice. The component quality, aside from the cards, is wonderful. The last thing I do want to take a look at, actually, before we take a look at the insert like I normally do, while we're talking about the art, I do want to have one other small negative about the art in general, is that this looks beautiful. But the box cover for this game it's not horrible. It's the same artwork, and I still like these characters, but there's just something about this that looks somewhat unfinished. And I did see a picture on BGG that's a slightly different version of this that has a little bit more texturing and a little bit more stuff going on in the background that I liked quite a bit more. There's just something about this box cover that looks half finished and not quite done. Now, with everything else being the way that it is, and this just being a box, I don't really care so much, but I just wanted to point that out to you, that this is not really representative of all of the stuff that's inside this box. And then finally, taking a look at the insert as I do really like the insert as designed here. All of those scrolls fit very nicely in this well. All of the cards fit nicely into these two slots here. All of the tiles fit very nicely in here. The bag with all the meeples and things I shove into there fits very nicely. And up here, I know it's not the best way to do it, but I just kind of toss everything in here loosely. But honestly, with the punch boards underneath this tray and the book on top with the box sealed, it really does hold everything in place, even these tokens in here that are put in loosely. That's basically it for the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. Now, before I get into any of the talk on mechanisms or how I feel about this game, I want to focus on the theme for a minute here. And that's because I'm somebody who's spent 6 years living in Japan. I still work at a Japanese school. My wife is Japanese, my children are Japanese, and Japanese culture means a lot to me. And in particular, the Japanese culture, or maybe just vaguely Asian culture in general, tends to be something I see pop up a lot in board games as sort of this cool ethnic theming that makes an abstract game into something a little bit cooler, and it really does bother me when I see these painted on Asian or Japanese themes on games as a sort of eye-catching, look at this, it's cool kind of thing. So I went into this first a little bit hesitant, thinking, I hope this isn't another one of those things, and I'm pleasant to say, or happy to say, that this is not one of those games. Yes, the game theming may not come out hugely in the mechanisms, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but more importantly to me, it's clear that the time was put in to the theming on this game. It wasn't chosen randomly, it was something the designer had interest in. I actually spoke with the designer, and he told me himself that he put in quite a bit of research into the yokai and the sort of culture that's in this game. And I can't say for sure whether or not he nailed it completely, because I don't know a ton about yokai myself, only that they are there and I recognize a lot of the characters in the game. But the point is, the love was put in and this theme was chosen for a reason, and it's not just, hey, this is Asian, it's cool. So I'm giving the thumbs up on that before we get into the gameplay. Now, how do I feel about this game? First things first, this is an area control game. Whether the other mechanisms are not area control or are area control, this is basically an area control kind of game. And solo area control is something that your brain immediately says, yeah, I don't know if that's going to work, because area control is all about fighting for positioning on a map. And by yourself, does it work with an AI? Can it ever work with an AI? And I'm very happy to say, well, let's say this. There's a reason I'm doing this video. It was not at all planned. I won this game in a contest, but I just keep on playing this game, and I keep coming back to this game, and that's the reason I put it out and made this video right now, because yes, I really enjoy this game, and yes, I really do think that the AI works very well here, especially for an area control game. So let's talk about the game in general. Why do I enjoy this game? Well, I don't know specifically. I tend not to be a huge area control kind of person, but this is not a dudes on a map fighting for control kind of game. This really much is focused on this card drafting tableau building system with the 3 different themed or earth, wind, fire, whatever kind of themed night parades that you are working on building and then activating to put things on the map, moving things around the map, and occasionally fighting, but there's no real combat. It's just kicking off opponent pieces. And it's that drafting tableau building mechanism that I really enjoy here. And the more that I play, the more I find the small nuances in things. Because it didn't really dawn on me at first that if I have more than 5 cards in a certain color, that it might not be good for me because I can only place out 4 pieces of any color at any time, right? So if I don't have the ability to move those pieces around, that's not really doing me any good if I'm collecting stuff that I'm ultimately not making use of. But at the same time, those extra cards are giving me extra spirit tokens, extra talismans, potentially extra fighting and extra moving, which does mean something. And it does mean that if I have 2 colors that are extra long, I can simply go back and forth between those 2 colors, activating those, placing as many things out as I can, and moving around and fighting to take care of the things that I can't. But at the same time, if I have 4 in all 3 columns or all 3 rows, then I can pick whichever one I need at a specific time to put things out on their specific places that are closer to other things or to fight over specific locations on the map. So every time you play, it really does depend on what are the scoring goals that you're given at the start of the game. What are the arrangement of those random map tiles that are placed out? Because if certain colors are close to other colors, then you might focus on those colors. But if all the colors are kind of scattered all over the place, then it might be a good idea to sort of spread out and get a little bit of everything and jump around as needed through the gameplay. So there really is quite a bit of thought here about how best to build your tableau. Not just based on what's on the map, but also based on what's coming out in those spirit cards, because you only see 2 of every level, and it depends on how many spirit tokens you have. If you've got lots of movement, you're not going to have a lot of purchase ability to buy new cards to add them to your tableau. If you've got a lot of fighting, then you're going to keep the enemy from being out on the map, but you're not really doing a whole lot of good for your own stuff because you're not expanding and you're not growing much on your own. So you really do have to gauge what's coming out of the sort of market of cards. You have to sort of gauge which cards do I want to shuffle back into the deck to refresh every round, because you only get to do 1 column each time. And it's worth doing that because you might push your luck a little and lose a card that you could have liked, but you could get rid of that card that you could have liked and get a card instead that you really, really, really want and works perfectly in your tableau. And most of the time it's worth that pushing because you're going to get something anyway. And it might just be that you wait until the next round and buy something bigger or buy 2 something smallers, and it works out in the end. But this process of thought of when to do things, which cards to pull, which colors to activate to place in different locations, and how those locations connect to other locations on the board, it all works wonderfully. And you saw in this is the first game that I've ever played that I actually activated or even bothered playing on that center fire island. Because again, you can never place pieces on there. And for me, it was always better to place things on places that I could place and bring in more stuff to finish all of those islands. But it just happened that this game I had a ton of movement, so it was a whole lot easier to rush a bunch of stuff into the middle, and that middle island gave me the extra 2 points, plus a bunch of spirits to buy spirits at the end, and it really, really did work out well in my favor this time. And that's just, again, pushing the idea of how different this game plays every time, even with such a sort of limited pool of stuff that could possibly come out. Now, I'm going to talk about that again in a minute, probably, but let's talk about the AI system itself. This is an area control game with an AI. And very often, designing an AI that competes in an area control game is not going to be the easiest thing to do because they kind of have to be smart about where they're placing, but also how they're dealing with you and how they're scoring and so on and so on and so on. And I have to say that this one is pretty well done. Now, there is a little bit of vagueness in the rules as written. There are no rules as written about when to take things off or where to take things from when they're out of pieces to place on the map. But I did speak with the designer, and he is adding 1 or 2 sentences to the rules in future printings to deal with that. And I did follow those rules in this playthrough, so it should be up to date and correctly played as much as possible. But there is a little bit of vagueness there, but also that little bit of vagueness is kind of important because sometimes it's worth it for you to sort of make the best decisions for the AI, even not following exactly to the T of the rules, to give yourself more of a challenge. And there were 2 or 3 times here in this game when the AI could have done something much better, but I know that the designer wanted to streamline the AI, so they didn't always prioritize the absolute best decision for the AI, because then it's like you're playing the game twice, right? They wanted to keep it sort of streamlined and easy. Follow this, then this, then this, and if that happens, do this. And I applaud them for that, because honestly, that does make it easier to play. Those 1 or 2 little things really don't matter. And ultimately, I do find the AI pretty competitive in this game. So it really does mean something to me that I am playing against somebody that's actually competing with me. And I will tell you, this is the first time that I've done this well. 15 to, what did I get, 8 for the AI. This time was a pretty big blowout, and I've never seen scores like that before. It tends to be like 1 point difference, or often tied, and I win because of the longest night parade, or they win because of the longest night parade, or we're tied on night parades, and because they don't collect spirit tokens, I win because I have the most spirit tokens. It's always been a sort of neck and neck battle, and that was true when I was playing the easy mode when I first got the game, and it's been true when I've been playing in this normal mode as well. I haven't tried the harder mode yet. I will definitely dive into that at some point, but it's there, and the AI is like I said, it's competing. It's neck and neck with me most of the time that I've played this game, and all of my wins and all of my losses have tended to be by 1 point or by a tiebreaker, and I really, really, really like that, because it really feels like I am fighting against the AI. Now, the other thing I did say I'd come back to talk about it is the variability. We talked about the variability in the cards, in the map placement. But one thing that's surprising to me the more I play this game is just how much difference there is between the 4 different characters. And ultimately, the only thing between the 4 different characters in the box, and you saw 2 of them here, the cats and the foxes. There are also frogs and bears. You saw the pieces at the end in my components overview. But the difference in them really is just those 3 starting cards. The only thing that's different in the way that they play is the 3 starting cards. But just the sort of difference in the number of each icon that's on those 3 cards really does change the way that the game plays. And you'd think it wouldn't matter that much because you're buying cards anyway, and you can buy any cards and anybody can buy any cards. But realistically, because you start off that way with certain sets of icons, you do start to prioritize a certain type of play. And it really does push you to sort of take on the persona of the character that you've chosen and play in a slightly different way. So you saw 2 right now. The cats are very much a movement-focused group, and you saw them moving around the board a lot in this game. The foxes that I was playing with tend to be heavier on trying to get more of the spirits. Lots and lots and lots of spirits. I got a lot of those talismans, and I could continuously buy lots of spirits. The frogs are similar to the foxes in that they want you to buy more spirits, but they are going to actually be focusing on the number of spirit tokens. So they're actually going to potentially get more ability to buy bigger and bigger spirits moving forward as well. And then the bears are fight, fight, fight. They all have fists on them, and they're all about knocking out the opponents. And like I said, it's just a small change on the 3 starting cards out of however many cards, 10, 15 cards you're going to get as you play through the game. But it really does end up, surprisingly, giving a lot of flavor and character to each of these different types. Now, this game does have some expansions that are out that do add some new mechanisms, but also just add new factions that I'm really, really excited to try. The dogs are purple, and I do really want the purple dogs just, well, because they're purple and I like dogs. But I would love to try out those different characters or different factions to see how slightly different they change the game. I do want to try out the new icons that do change up the mechanisms and how you interact with the island and interact with pieces on the island. I'm very, very excited to keep playing this game. I'm also now very excited to try out more games from Brueh Games, because if this is the sort of thing that they're designing, I want to try more because they look pretty and they're a lot of fun, and they're not super heavy intense games either. This game plays pretty quickly, and I have a whole lot of fun from start to finish. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't feel too simple either. There are decisions, there are choices, there are things going on. I had a lot of fun with this game. If this is something you might be interested in, I think you might have a lot of fun with this game as well. Definitely check it out if it does seem like something you'd be interested in. And as always, thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please remember to subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks again.